Our next team is Ecampus, represented by Cecil Sena Nutako.
Hello, Ghana. All the Ghana people, show some love, show some love. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so my name is Cecil Sena Nutako, founder and CEO at Ecampus. Now, Ecampus is a software as a service, education technology solution that helps corporate organizations and academia by making learning adaptive, personalized, and informally accessible to employees and students respectively. Let us sink in. 18 years ago in Ghana, I failed my West Africa Examination Council high school exams 3 times. But you see, more importantly, the year I failed, failure rates were 34%. Last year, the whole West Africa, 78%. Don't laugh about that, that's serious. More importantly again, teachers, parents, employers, and governments are interestingly a part of the problem and also a part of the solution. So now as a solution, Ecampus is connecting teachers and learners directly to generate user behavior data. So we can feed that data to our AI, which is called Nile, to analyze and tell us the strengths and weaknesses of learners and teachers at topic and subtopic levels, instead of the general report card you get. Very detailed. So we know the strengths and match students to the best teachers. The teachers that need to improve, they go and improve quietly. With this level of intelligence, we are able to, 1, predict whether you're going to fail the exams or not, so you don't end up like me. And number 2, where we get money from, we're able to tell employers the strengths and weakness of their employees, like Sango was worried here. With that, we can then move to the near future where we can start awarding things like employability scores. See it as your credit score. And then in the further future, you can trade these points for food, Uber ride, healthcare. Why do you have to learn 4 years before you put food on the table? If you learn if you learn about semiconductors today, I should be able to buy a movie ticket without points in the evening. That's why I'm learning. Why am I learning for 4 years if I can apply when it's absolute? When you close a loop like that, then you get a team with over 20 years combined experience, very passionate, committed, with a dedicated board who is functional, and our tools to make sure we deliver and we don't disappoint them. Those folks, you don't want to disappoint them. We've built a revenue stream, 4 of them that work independently, but simultaneously to keep us cash flow positive. We're operating in the market that's constantly growing and giving us higher barrier to entry. However, our competitive advantage of relying on user behavior data as intelligence makes us poised to grab 10% of the market. To get that, we need 1.5 million subscriptions at $3 premium. Now we're offering freemium at $1. Our market is broken into 3: test prep, employability, and business. We have over 100 test prep courses, over 10 multinationals relying on our technology for corporate training, and we have a model that can scale. In West Africa alone, there are about 35 million students who are going to write exams on an average of 5 subjects. So per our model, that's 175 million subscriptions. You multiply that by our $3 premium, and that's a $2.6 billion market opportunity. We want to grab this quickly, so we have partners who are paying to onboard students in the thousands and pledging to onboard in the millions in the next 36 months. In 3 years, we've raised $150,000 at the $3 million valuation, revenues above $100,000 with 20,000 users. Our ask is $300,000 to move from 3,000 subscriptions to 100,000 subscriptions. We're going to spend that on digital marketing, improve our corporate governance, and make our processes efficient in developing our premium content. The time is now. I'm asking you not only to believe in Ecampus, but believe in Africa. You don't want to get behind. So here we go, 300K.
Cecil, I thought you gave an absolutely extraordinary presentation. You had everyone on the edge of their seat for the entire speech, which is wonderful. I completely believe in your value proposition, although I don't totally understand how it works. So tell me what the process is. Where does the evaluation of teachers come in? What is the experience of the user and so on?
All right. So what we do is quickly, we have worked with the exam councils, beginning with the West Africa Examination Council, to put the past questions for the past 30 years into our system. And you can see trends. You realize that for mathematics, for example, the first 5 questions are on sets, followed by simultaneous equation, followed by vectors. So the more you interact with those questions on our platform, you earn points based on that. And those questions are tagged topics. So over maybe a 2 weeks, 3 weeks period, we can see trends on, okay, maybe you're good in vectors, but you are struggling with simultaneous equation. This data is then given to your teacher to now know that, okay, in a class of 30, this group are very good in vectors, but this group are struggling with simultaneous equation. So all of a sudden, the traditional classroom arrangement changes from you facing the teacher and learning 1 topic a day to you breaking into groups based on your strengths and weaknesses to learn 4 topics in a day, which is more efficient. Number 2, the teacher begins to see where he or she is also weak and begins to take courses to improve.
Quietly.
Pardon? Quietly. Quietly. And number 3, the school authorities have this data to plan resources, to know which new teachers to employ, which ones to maybe fire, or which equipment they need to acquire to help students learn the practicals. And more importantly, parents who are spending up to 40% of their annual income in trying to educate their kids, only for them to drop out like I did. That's painful. Then finally, government, the big guy. Imagine he has that data for what, 2 million students over a period of what, 10 years. You can make reforms, and then we can sell that data to the UN, the IMF, who need data. They say that Africa, we don't have data. We have data now. So that's what I'm talking about.
I worked with an Indian educational initiative, and one of the ideas that we had was to develop scholarships where in India for engineers it's very difficult for them to get employed. So we created a strategy whereby US companies could create parameters that they were looking for throughout the course of the educational system with their online studies, and essentially early on they could see the trends of what type of students they would be looking for. So I wholeheartedly believe in your,
Thank you so much.
Your idea here.
You got that fast. I've been trying hard to explain it.
Cecil,
Yes, please.
great presentation, very clear. I've got 2 questions. The first question is, are you just teaching people how to pass tests? Or are you teaching people to learn, is the first question. And actually, if it is the former, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just want to understand what the model is. And then the second thing is, how do you keep the content relevant, fresh, and up to date?
All right, let me take your first question, whether we're teaching them to just pass exams. Right. In as much as we don't like the idea of just preparing people to pass exams, if you fail, you're stuck. So that's the first thing. I got lucky, so now I have an MBA, I have a postgraduate from Singularity University, blah, blah, blah. I got lucky. But if you fail, you're stuck. You're going to end up selling dog chain on the street. So it's important the past. But the more important thing is, once we establish your strengths and your weakness. So for example, here, you can see that somebody's got only 1 point on something, so they are weak. So then the AI will then recommend read content for you, listen and watch content for you, more practice, and then more discussions. So if you're discussing and you answer people's question, and the answer was useful, they can upvote you or downvote you. Now that's the premium. You coming to do the assessment to know your strength and weakness is $1 a month. Now when we recommend that, based on your weakness, watch this video, listen to this podcast, then it becomes $3. And that's where they don't want to pay, so they keep, that becomes a problem. But with these corporations now coming in and paying for them, we're actually teaching them how to learn, unlearn, and relearn by knowing their strength. Because if you tell me you want to help me, or I come, help me with mathematics, where are you going to start from? But if I come and say, help me with probability, that's quite straightforward. So teaching them how to learn. Hope I've answered you. Now the second one is, how do we get the content updated, right? So if you look at our revenue model, which are presented here, we have what we call content providers. So we work with teachers, consultants, and authors. So that's even a quick thing. We do a revenue share, 50-50. We take 50% for the technology, they take 50% for the intellectual property. So we have consultants and teachers have huge following, but they still give out handouts. So we take that handout, digitize it into podcasts, illustration videos, sometimes virtual reality, to make it more engaging, and then we host it on the platform. Then when they come to teach, there are 200, 300 students, they say, follow me on Ecampus. And when they do that, we give them the report on how good or weak the students are, and then that helps them improve their content.
Sorry, we get that.
So I wanted to better understand your point system. So where you were speaking about when you have points, you can go to the movies, you can ride Ubers.
Yeah, of course.
Which partners do you have currently that are part of this point system? Because it seems really important as an incentivizing way for them to join the platform.
So our first, most complex partner we're trying to integrate into the point system is Uber. So we started this conversation, I think, a year and a half ago. So, it's nice to say it, and when we started looking at the technicalities, it was a bit difficult, but it's doable. Now, how do you determine that 100 points equals 1 kilometer ride? So what we decided to do was to place like the stock market. Let the people decide the value of the points based on demand and the time. So in the morning, 100 points could give you a 1 kilometer ride, but maybe in the rush hour in the evening, you need 1,000 points. And once you trade it, it's gone. You have to learn new things to get it. So we're trying to perfect that market. But the stock exchange crashed. So one day it might crash, but at least we're going. Any more questions, please?
I might make one suggestion to you, that you put 45 seconds of what the total process is, of what someone sees, because I see that you have you're talking about podcast videos and so on. I don't think the journey is not completely clear from your pitch, but the idea is wonderful, and you're a phenomenal presenter.
Thank you. 5 minutes. Thank you. Hello, Ghana.
Thank you, Cecil.